In the tropics, there are two zones of action being investigated and tracked very closely for future development, one of which is already entering the eastern sections of the Caribbean, but this is fairly well to the south of the Greater Antilles Islands, Hispaniola, Cuba, Jamaica as well. And this is likely to take more of a west to northwest path, staying mostly over the open waters. It looks like this may have a decent chance to become a tropical depression within the next 2 days. And if it does, it's likely to continue that westward path. So that reduces the risk overall for the northern Gulf region where we are. That may not necessarily be the case with the second batch of unsettledness well in the open Atlantic. Pretty broad stretch of clouds, but it's going to be this area which has some little twist, which indicates some low-level circulation trying to ramp up. That's going to be a zone that's going to be watched very closely, especially when it comes to the latest trends of its future movement. Right now, it's in an environment where it's likely to continue to gain more intensification and then continuing to move west to northwest, a little farther on a northern latitude than the other system. So that may take it by later this week somewhere along the northern edge of the Lesser Antilles, where it seems like the upper level wind pattern is still going to be favorable for this to continue to strengthen. Kind of going back and forth with some of the various versions of modeling, but nonetheless, when it comes to this system's impact on us, it's just too early to tell. But given the path and those projections that I mentioned, the risk for us is non-zero. And I stress that you shouldn't jump to conclusions based on what you see here, but nonetheless, whatever this system becomes, it's likely to continue that trek, maybe approaching some of the islands of the Greater Antilles, and by the weekend or early next week, rounding the edge of that high, which places it somewhere around the Bahamas, Florida Straits. Can't necessarily rule that scenario out, so that's why we're going to watch that very closely. Whichever one becomes a tropical storm first, it would take the name Laura, followed by Marco. And there's probably another batch of unsettledness, likely 10 days and beyond, that could maybe